Hello everyone, it is I, Xilestar, and today is actually a very special day for the channel. The day that this video is going to go up is August 8th, which is actually the channel anniversary since this channel was started on August 8th of 2020. So, hooray! So I have a very special video that I have planned out for a few months now, and I've been trying to not edit it, but I've been trying to like make sure that it's almost as perfect as I can get it. One thing is that I definitely know that I am not the best for punctuation and for wording, as I am very, very good at it. That is also a joke. But anyway, so if something's misspelt or misused or anything like that, please excuse it. Like, I understand that, like, during my mod playthroughs, I know, like, I'm like, that doesn't make sense, but yet it probably does. But for this, though, like, I understand that if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. But I tried my best at, like, making sure that it made as much sense as much as possible. During the video, or during the segment that you're going to be viewing, which is going to be a little skit with more of actually what the video is supposed to be about. If you have any questions about it, please wait till the end of the video. At the end of the video, I'm going to go and explain a little bit about different sections of it. So if you have any questions, please wait until after that part, and then if your question still hasn't been answered, definitely do like leave it down in the comments, and I'll definitely be able to answer them to the best that I can go. I'm not going to go and spoil it and just say like, oh yeah, this, and then it's like, next year I want to do something similar to this, and it's like, oh yeah, I spoiled it last year because I commented that question. So yeah, so I'll answer it to as much as I want to go with it, if that is kind of like how I want to do it. So yeah, so I'll let the video run, and I'll see you guys back after the video is done recording. After destroying this world, it is about time I return to my realm. What a beautiful realm. Looks very beautiful. About time I head inside. I think I should check up on my treasures. What a beautiful secret that only I truly know about. Yes. Exploring those areas seems to be very bountiful in terms of rewards. I guess I shall go upstairs then and check on our gold reserves. Make sure Tess isn't buying anything. Wait, what's that over there? That seems kind of weird. I don't remember putting this book here. I don't think Tess would ever deliver me a book. Well, let's find out what it says. Greetings, reader. My name is Xilestar, but this is not a story of mine, but one that is lost to time itself. But allow me to inform you of it. Once in a kingdom long forgotten, its very name escapes the grasp of time, but I have uncovered its true name as Vasselli. This is the earliest name I've come across. The king of this kingdom was Archimus, who had great plans to better his kingdom, but the nobles had different ideas. When Archimus wanted to help the poor with extra provisions, he was met with great resistance against this, and couldn't do much in his 5-year reign. And a noble took advantage of this, by manipulating the populace into thinking that Archimus was holding the riches to himself, including the holy sword that is the symbol of office, Twisted Light, a holy blade capable of bending light for the user to use against enemy threats, a great weapon for any paladin. After 2 years of this noble making this cabal, forming more power for their coup, Archimus was trying his best to secretly help his people, without the nobles aware of this. But ultimately the coup succeeded, and the king fell but accidentally used his quirk. to crystallize his heart with all his rage, and when Artemis died, the heart flew from his body, and Twisted Light joined with the heart, and the heart vanished, disappearing for a long time. And after this, the noble took over and waged war with the nearby kingdoms, but ultimately was stopped before he could even start, and the kingdom of Arceli and the people abandoned their homes and began moving to other towns, hoping for safety. 300 years after Artemis's death, the heart found itself to a sorcerer with a unique quirk of creating alternate dimensions for him to use. Once the sorcerer used his quirk on the heart itself to create the beautiful island for him to enjoy. After doing so, he wanted to have a house in this world, but he couldn't make it himself, so he went to a craftsman and asked him for a builder for his house. The craftsman told him that he could build the house, he just needed the materials to build it. The sorcerer came back after 5 days and said he has all the materials at the location. And when the craftsman asked where is this said location, the sorcerer said that only he can bring him there. But when the sorcerer tried, he appeared, but the craftsman did not. And then the heart burned the words into the mind of the sorcerer. "Do not bring anyone unworthy to this location." After this, the sorcerer was confused. This is the first time he has heard this voice, and when he called out, no one answered back. He then reappeared to the craftsman yet again and explained the situation, then apologized for wasting his time, and appeared in the realm once again for the final time, to enchant the materials to never rot or decay. After the sorcerer left the realm, the heart sealed the realm from him. After 3 years, the sorcerer was traveling when bandits appeared from the shadows and surprised the sorcerer. He tried to return to the realm before he met his demise, but the heart told him yet again, "Do not bring anyone unworthy to this location." The sorcerer was then confused, but that confusion did not last, as he was then butchered by bandits. But the heart fled to find another vessel. 237 years after the sorcerer fell, the heart found its way to a master craftsman, who had the quirk for mastery over fire and ice. The heart then told the craftsman this, "Enter my realm and build a lodge fit for a king." And the heart then teleported the craftsman to the beautiful realm and compelled him to build it. After 7 days, the lodge was complete. The heart then told the craftsman this, "Forge an armor stronger than anything you have ever created before, and be rewarded." The craftsman was hard at work making the armor. He had finished the whole thing except for the helmet, but the heart told the craftsman to not make a metal one, but make a cloth one instead. Since the craftsman had no experience with using cloth for anything, he turned to his wife and asked if she could make a cape and a hood with a face covering for a custom order. When she finished, the craftsman assembled the armor with the cape and the hood with face covering on a stand, admiring his work. Then the heart took the stand with everything on it and told the craftsman, "Good, you have done what I have said. I will keep the armor safe." The craftsman said, "What about my reward?" No answer. After several days of trying to get an answer and receiving not a word, he gave up and told his wife about what had just happened. The wife then said to get it back, "You have been to this realm once, go there again and grab the armor back." The craftsman had tried day after day to try and enter, but hasn't made any progress. On his deathbed, he wished that he could see the armor once more. After his natural death, the heart fled to find another vessel. 70 years after the craftsman's death, the heart then found a master enchanter who had a unique quirk with mastery over electricity. The heart then told the enchanter, "Enter my realm and be free to your experiments," and then teleported the enchanter to the realm. The enchanter could already sense some enchantment magic on the structure that had faded, and concluded that the person didn't enchant the whole material to be any shape or form. So the enchanter enchanted the lodge to always reform itself back after any form of destruction. After this, he entered the lodge and saw a sword on the table and an armor in a side room. The sword was glowing when he went near it, and began his experiments with the sword first, by making it able to be called upon at will to any who hold the heart in their possession, and did a crazy, dangerous, and foolish experiment on the sword by binding it to the heart itself, corrupting its very nature from a holy blade to a condensed evil blade, but maintaining its name. After doing so, the enchanter wanted to work on the armor. Then as soon as he touched the armor, memories of the craftsman making the armor flashed in his mind. Confused, but not bothered by it, he began his process Similar to the sword, he made it able to be called upon at will to any who hold the heart in their possession, and made it repair itself over time, made it light to wear and silent. Then tried an even dangerous experiment, to bind the sword to the armor itself, so that if the armor was called, the sword waited until needed. But this backfired and turned not just the armor or the sword, but the whole heart itself, writing it from existence itself. After this experiment, the enchanter died as a result. The heart now had all the tools at its disposal, an armor that cannot be damaged by anything in existence, and a blade that can destroy anything in existence. Now it just needed a strong vessel, capable of controlling them, but couldn't find one until one such boy stumbled upon a cave where it lay hid for so long. This boy is named Drathus. When the boy touched the heart, it disappeared right before him, and when he was of age to leave, he left his home for adventure. But after a while, the heart's evil grew stronger and almost corrupted him, until a mysterious stranger told him to fight the darkness. When he suffered through this pain, the stranger gave him a light to peer through. After this, Drathus looked around for the stranger, but found nothing, and eventually stumbled upon a few people during his travels. Corinx, who has the quirk Shadow Walk, the ability to travel in between the Void Realm and this world. Arun, who has the quirk to see the complete future. Audrin, who has the quirk of mastery of all magical elements. After meeting these people, Drathus then found his quirk, Mimicry, the ability to mimic any quirk, but not having full power over it. The pages appear to be blank. Wow, that is an amazing story. Wow, I am really happy I made that. Okay, so a couple things. One is that I completely understand certain things that might not make much of an interest, but pretty much the TLDR, pretty much, or if you don't want to watch the video, you just want an extra thing. Archmus was a king that was very, very generous. He wanted to make sure that the people of the kingdom of Rosselli were treated fairly, and were treated like equally, kind of thing. So the nobles would give their fortune off to the poor, pretty much, and make sure that everybody was like neutral in that kind of thing, so that there was no upper class. They were all like middle class kind of deal. So, and the nobles didn't like that, so instead they tried to start a rebellion, and they ended up winning in the end. But Archmus technically had the last laugh by using his quirk, which allows him to crystallize any body part, not just his heart, and to be able to do it. And technically, at around this point where it says the king fell but accidentally used his quirk to crystallize his heart, technically Archmus died by two different ways depending on how you look at it. When he crystallizes his heart, it stops beating in a way, so he died by technically crystallizing his heart. And even if the noble that started the whole coup in the first place ended up like killing him with his sword kind of thing, that would have also technically have killed him. So he could have technically died by two different ways. So I don't really think there's going to be much questions here. I think it's very self-explanatory. So we're going to go skip over towards the Master Sorcerer. So the Master Sorcerer in this case is actually kind of different. So, okay, so I'm going to explain why these are called Masters instead of... Oh no, this one isn't a Master Sorcerer. Well, that's kind of interesting. He is supposed to be a Master Sorcerer. But anyway, so the reason why that these are all called like Sorcerer or Master Enchanter or Master Craftsman and Master Sorcerer is what this one's supposed to be, is because I can never fully like commit to a name. Like, I would find a perfect name for the Sorcerer and I'd be like, okay, this is cool. 3 days later I'll be like, oh, what did I name him? And I'm like, oh, it wasn't cool then because I didn't remember it. So I couldn't really quite remember, so I just called them like Master whatever, Master Sorcerer, Master Enchanter, Master Smith, and all that stuff. So hooray for that. The part about the heart talking to people, it's technically in Archmus's voice kind of thing, because remember that that this heart is technically still Archmus's, so it still sort of has his soul, if you will, in it. So he is the one that's actually communicating to the outside. So he is the one that says, like, do not bring anyone unworthy to this location, or forge the armor, or be free to do your experiments and all that stuff. So he is the one that actually is saying that, not the heart itself. He's communicating through the heart to the person. But to them, it's like the heart is communicating directly to their mind. So yeah, so the sorcerer also when it says like about here, I think, when he enchants the materials to never rot or decay, technically the sorcerer had very little enchantment knowledge. That's all he could have done. And the part before that where it says like where it says like where is it? He wanted to have a house in this world, but he couldn't make it himself. That's because he wasn't really more of the physical labor kind of person. He was more of the sort of like, I'm really good with any kind of magical spell kind of thing, and there was no spells in this universe that could build a house for you. So he had to go find a craftsman or a builder, but he couldn't bring one to the world anyway, so it didn't really matter. But he was able to bring the materials. And again, this doesn't get like this sort of doesn't break anything, because it says do not bring anyone, and do not bring anything unworthy to this location. It's anyone, so it makes sense. Then when he left after enchanting the materials, the heart saw that the sorcerer now wasn't really as useful anymore. His quirk allowed it so that there was now a realm for the next occupants, if you will, to be able to have a place of their own. And technically he didn't really need this. Technically didn't need the sorcerer anymore, so it decided to go, you know what, we don't need you anymore, we're gonna lock the door on you. Oh, you don't have a key? Oh no. And then that's when he actually ended up dying. So this one, okay, so this one I definitely know for a fact, the Master Craftsman one, I'm gonna definitely have to explain a little bit. Okay. So allow me to explain this. So this one is actually very simple, but I want to explain it anyway in more of what. For a blacksmith, I was thinking of fire and ice as being able to control both the hot temperatures and the cold temperatures, so that he can cool off metal faster than normal, and he can also be able to superheat metal faster than any other smith before. Now, I can understand that a lot of people would think, but wouldn't fire and water make sense? Well, I'm also trying to make sure that it fits really well with the Oblivion universe, too. So, like, it fits why he's in the Elder Scrolls universe right now, so he has the control over fire and ice, fire and frost. So it kind of makes sense, but the part about the face covering and the helmet. So this is actually a part of Drathus's lore, but the face covering is a little bit different. So what it is that he does actually have a cape and a hood, but he actually has a metal face plate, or like something that you attach to the face kind of thing. It's like a metal mask. Actually, I think metal mask actually makes more sense. And what it does is it actually conceals your entire face. So that way, though, if you know one item that's in Oblivion, I don't know if Skyrim has something similar to it, but for Oblivion, there's one item that allows you to change your technical like bounty by wearing something and then taking it right off. It's exactly what this is supposed to be too, except for this is supposed to be like a full mask though. I couldn't really find anything on the not the construction set, but like on the Nexus for something similar to what I was thinking of, and so I couldn't really find one that would fit. So that's why I ended up settling for like a ninja mask kind of thing, or just like a normal like mask kind of thing. So yeah, so that's what the face covering is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a metal one. And being able to have it also here is also makes kind of sense too. And everything else, yeah, like there's nothing really too much else. Okay, so this is the part where I might confuse myself. So I'm going to go and explain it very slowly to myself. So when the enchanter has the mastery over electricity, that's because of one of the spells here. Give me 1 second. It's because of one of the spells here that is under this. Here. So you'll see like it has heavy shock damage and fire and frost. It's similar to the reason why it has that sort of ability. But if we read towards near the end, or right here, where he sees the sword on the table and an armor in a side room, I was thinking of, like, oh, that's right, I had drathus setting. I had envisioned that the sword would be on this table, and then you would go like, wow, that's a cool looking sword, and then you turn to the side room, and then there would be like an armor stand standing right there. So I thought that that might actually be kind of cool. But you could also technically say that the sword could fit on this table too, without the skull Ethereum and this candle, of course. You could have the sword like laying down right here. And then you also have like the armor showing off over here, because this could technically be considered a side room in comparison to this. But I think the dining room table would make more sense because it's an actual table. You could also say this, but then there's no side room though, right? Like, this is a table, but where's the side room? So it doesn't really make much sense in that way. And I think I might need to explain myself on how the actual like armor exactly works in here, right? So first of all, the weapon was a holy one. The sword was known as Twisted Light because it was a holy weapon that could bend light to the user's will to use it against enemy threats, which I think is word for word of how I written it. But pretty much what that means is that you're able to sort of use light in a way to defeat enemies. So like, you're able to use what is it called? There's like certain MMOs where they allow you to deal extra damage against undead. It's similar to that, except for you can use it against anyone, but it does bonus damage against undead kind of thing. That's kind of how it is. But when the heart was bound to the heart, but when the sword was bound to the heart itself, corrupting its very nature, it turned from a holy blade to a condensed evil blade. Now, how this universe ended up working is that there are two phases of evil weapons. There's the generic evil blade, where it's like, it just slightly has that corruption. And then condensed evil blade, where it can't be purified at all. It cannot be purified. It is completely evil, and it cannot change back into being back to being a pure weapon. And same thing with condensed holy blades. They cannot be corrupted in any way, shape, or form. And a condensed evil blade can corrupt a normal holy blade if there's enough of contact with the holy blade to slowly start corrupting it. And then same thing with a condensed holy blade going towards a normal evil blade, where it will slowly purify that unholy blade shortly after a while. And the whole thing about like sharing memories, technically what ends up happening is that all the memories are collected, so that way though you can see, the current user can see the past sort of few people that are there, which is the master craftsman, the master enchanter, and the master sorcerer. Technically what's supposed to happen is that you gain all their skills and knowledge. So in the same way of the master sorcerer, Drathus would have learned every spell that sorcerer ended up learning and mastering. Same thing with the craftsman, since the craftsman was an expert in metals, let's say, being able to work with metals. Drathus would have learned that. And same thing with the enchanter, since this guy was a master enchanter. Drathus would have learned everything about enchanting and how to do it and how best the process is. But by the time, by when he started enchanting the armor to make it so though it would repair itself over time, if I was better at modding in general for Oblivion and being able to use OBSE functionality, I mean I can, but I'm just not going to because I still rather would leave my mod vanilla, I would actually have it repair over time. And same thing with the weapon, have it recharge slowly over time. Make it light to wear. That's the reason why it is considered clothing. But if I could make it armor, I would make it light armor, but it's fine. In Silent, this is in correlation to one of Skyrim, I believe's enchantments known as Muffle, I think is what it's called, and it's similar to that. And then he tried to bind the sword to the armor itself, which caused an actual, like, explosion, because the sword was bound to the heart as well as the armor. So when you try to do that weird triangle thing, it breaks because in order for the armor to call upon to the heart, the sword follows, and same odd thing happens. So instead of what was supposed to happen, it backfired and turned not just the armor or the weapon in general, but it turned the whole heart itself, writing it out of existence. Now, in this universe, what's supposed to happen is that anything that's written in existence has a birth and a death. It has a date of creation and a date of destruction. That's how it works. But when you're written out of existence itself, you don't have a date of creation or a date of destruction. So technically, you've just created an indestructible thing that cannot be destroyed and that can destroy anything. Because technically, your thing can't break because it has no destruction date. It can't be destroyed at all. It cannot be rotted or decayed or slowly withering over time. It's completely and utterly safe. And because it is written into the heart itself, it technically also by proxy affects the armor and the sword itself as well, allowing both of them to also be written out of existence. But of course, as of this experiment, the enchanter died as a result. And then after all of this, I can't believe I forgot to write this, and I was kind of scared to write it after the fact. As soon as I kept rereading this, I forgot that I did not add it in there. So, a long time ago, I think it was when I was doing Mehrunes Razor, I don't know how long that was, and I can't really look at the upload date because that doesn't really help me. That tells me when I uploaded it, or that tells me when I wanted it to be uploaded. That doesn't tell me when I recorded it. But when I recorded it, I said that, oh, this magical, I think it was the Rockpick Hoe, the Rake, I think. Oh, this is very reminiscent to what Drathus was supposed to be, and then I stopped myself from continuing any further. I'm going to explain why I stopped myself. Drathus was supposed to be a farm boy, pretty much he was a child to a farmer. So he developed that upper body strength. So he was pretty strong in terms of the physical, and he also had a very determined will because he learned at the farm how to pretty much, to always have faith in the sort of deities, pretty much. But when he found the heart, it's not that he changed in personality. He slightly changed, but not as much. So I didn't want to word that in here. But when he was of age to leave, the age of leaving, I think, in this universe was about age of 14, 15, give or take. So it was pretty nice. So it's in the mature but not completely mature area. And usually what happens is that when you're at the age of leaving, you're supposed to leave home and explore the world around you. Then by the age of, I want to say 19 and 20, I want to say, you can choose to return home and then do whatever you want, kind of thing. That's kind of how this universe was supposed to be. And then after a while, the heart's evil grows. Again, this is because of Archmus's rage. It started to, since now it found a perfect host to house all of this power, it now is trying to take over and be able, and so Archmus can take full control and be able to wreak havoc on anything. And it tried to corrupt Drathus's thing. But a mysterious stranger, this is between one of two different characters. You could say that on one hand, this could be Xilestar himself, which is not me, but is actually a character in of himself, that tried to make sure that Drathus would never actually fully be corrupted by the darkness. Or it's another character that is stronger than Xilestar, and that is much older than Xilestar, that actually helped Drathus to learn how to control it. And the reason, and that's why they gave him a light to peer through. And then as soon as it's like one of those things where it's like you aid and then they pass out, and then when they wake up, you're gone. It's like, where did they go? And then that's how that works. So that's how that kind of happened. So over the time, he's seen more people than these three, but these three are more towards more towards what he ends up using in terms of his arsenal. So Corynx, who has the ability of Shadow Walk. Corynx has been a character that I have established for years now. So he's as old as like the first characters kind of thing. In Shadow Walk, pretty much how that ability works is that you're in between the realm of death and life. So you're not dead, but you're also not completely alive. You're in the middle ground. So how it is that in the Void Realm, it's an exact replica of our world, except like of the normal world, except for the difference is that there's more like sort of like demons kind of thing, sort of patrolling the area, making sure everything's good and fine. The only problem is that when somebody dies in the real world, the Void Realm must follow those said parameters. That's where the demons come into play. So if you die by, let's say, a heart attack, technically your Void Realm's going to follow that. That's not that big of a deal. And if a bandit were to, let's say, butcher you, in a sense, if your Void Realm self is still alive somehow, the demons will take care of it, and they will deal with that. That's kind of how it works. But how Corynx's quirk works is that he technically moves his Void Realm self and himself into the middle. So he's not going to be obstructed by both the Void Realm and the real world. So it's technically an alternate form of invisibility, one that nobody can detect. But the problem is that because there's still a connection to the realm of death, Corynx gets a little bit tired while he continues to use his quirk. And so his occupation, which is, well, in the Elder Scrolls universe would be an Imperial spy, he would be considered like one of the good ones that you would use on those high priority ones, like, we need this information in 2 days, we need it now kind of moment, and we're willing to have you go do it. Like, that's how he would be. And that's pretty much how, like, Corynx's quirk kind of works, and how his quirk works with his occupation. But how does Drathus go with this quirk? Well, he does it similarly, but with his quirk of mimicry, it becomes weaker, if that makes sense. So instead of him having more of the safeguards to making him not be as tired as quickly as possible, he gets tired more frequently. He tires faster than what Corynx would do, which is the only kind of difference between it. And technically, both of them can see each other within this little Void Realm walk, if you will, and both of them can do whatever they want in there, and it doesn't really matter. Arun's quirk of Complete Future. Technically, Drathus has something similar. However, there is a huge caveat to this. So, when Drathus uses Complete Future, he doesn't see the complete future. He sees a not a premonition, what is it? It's like he sees like 7 seconds into the future. And no matter what happens, that future will happen. So he'll say, you'll die in 4 seconds. But there is one person who can technically stop this from happening, and that is Arun. Because if Arun sees something completely different, Drathus's like future vision doesn't actually happen at all, because Arun has seen differently. And this actually is in correlation between both Arun's Complete Future ability with Drathus's mimicry, because mimicry can't completely copy Arun's Complete Future, which is why that Arun can completely disregard anything Drathus says and just shut it down. And that's pretty much how that works, is that Drathus becomes such an invincible foe because he can just see in the future and just know that he can just slice left and he wins, kind of thing. And for Audrin's quirk of Mastery of all magical elements, this just goes hand in hand to what the blacksmith had too, where he had mastery over fire and ice, and the enchanter where he had mastery over electricity, or shock in terms of Oblivion. And that's kind of how it works. And after discovering all these people with their unique quirks, he didn't know a lot of their unique quirks, except for, I think, Corynx. I think he stumbled when he left the Void Realm is when he stumbled upon Drathus, I think. So yeah. So the reason why that the pages appear blank, or the reason why it says pages appear to be blank, is because I'm not continuing the story from here because the story is still being written. Although one thing that I want to mention as well, because it's definitely going to be mentioned, quirks are unique to individuals, and and certain quirks are not as powerful as other ones. So you can have so just a brief explanation of how unique a quirk is. You can have like, let's say one person has complete mastery over fire. One person has complete mastery over fire, but the flames have to be blue for them to be completely in master of it. If it's any other flame, they can't control it. Same thing with yellow fires, or orange fires, or purple fires, or I don't know, tangerine fires, or whatever, like that kind of thing. Same thing with ice. Ice, they can't handle sharp surfaces. They can only handle smooth surface ice. Then they can control that, and so on and so forth. Like, that's kind of how that works. So same thing with a lot of these ones, except for these ones were more generic. Like, this one has complete fire over fire and ice. Now, when a person with a quirk dies, that quirk doesn't just go, okay, well, you've been checked off, so nobody else can have that. That's not exactly what happens. It's only during the present moment. So if nobody has complete mastery over fire, well, you're going to get it, because this one person that did have it died at the end. But something that's actually really unique about the heart itself is that it retains a small blueprint of how that quirk worked. So when drathus, when the first one, the sorcerer that had the ability of creating alternate dimensions, this one got sort of blueprinted differently. So drathus was able to travel to different dimensions instead. So this is why we're able to use him for Pokemon Let's Plays, and why we're able to use him in other games as well, because he's able to do that because of one of his quirks that he got from, like, one of the first quirks. The one quirk that didn't get copied, unfortunately, was Archmus's crystallization of human parts, or the crystallization of his body as his quirk, because unfortunately his quirk didn't get blueprinted because his quirk was the reason for it in the first place, so it didn't get blueprinted, unfortunately. But the complete mastery, or not the complete mastery, the ability to travel to other dimensions, because the quirk was about dimensions, mastery over fire and ice, he does, but it doesn't interfere with the natural quirk over fire and ice. Even if, because it doesn't go with mimicry, it goes with the heart. So the heart, and again, the heart is written out of existence, which means that it bypasses that law of nature, so it doesn't interfere with it. And because it itself is storing the information, it's not saying, hey world, I need you to have this information for me for next time I need to access it. Okay, bye. Nope, it retains the information itself, so it doesn't go through anything. And same thing with the mastery over electricity in this case as well. And if Drathus were to ever technically fall or die, technically it would also have the ability of mimicry. However, as bad as mimicry is, there's that too. And that's pretty much it. So now in the future, whenever I try and create a character now, we won't have this book as an option of soul linking. We will now have this one up here as the one that will be of soul linking. Actually, that's a lie. That one won't actually be there anymore, because the original location was over here, because it's on this area right here. But I decided to not keep it there. I decided to keep it up here because of that very reason, because it just looks a lot better up here, and because I can actually make a storyline of, like, oh, maybe, like, of accounting and stuff like that. Go like, oh, I hope Tess hasn't been buying weapons again, and then looks over there and goes, hey, what's that over there? So it made a lot of sense. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'm never doing this again. This took way too long to record, and not to mention that, like it just infuriated me every time I had to redo, like, a short portion of it. I will keep a record in the description of how many times I had to redo a portion of the recording, because I ended up separating them into like, so every section of the story. So Archimus, the sorcerer, the craftsman, the enchanter, and then Drathus's part. Those were all recorded technically separately, but all in a line, so that they would fit in the storyline pretty well. But in the sense of just the story in general, like I did the Archimus part, paused, and then restarted the recording to do the sorcerer part, paused after it was done, and then did the master craftsman, and so on and so forth until Drathus's part, and then I just did the intro, because I wanted to do the intro after the fact, and then now we're doing this one. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Next year's special for the channel anniversary is going to be a Minecraft one. It's kind of funny though, because the first year it was Oblivion and Minecraft, and for second year it's Oblivion, and then third year it's going to be Minecraft. But yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed. I wanted to thank the amount of people that actually did subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much. Every subscription and all that is very helpful, especially to me, because it actually helps me out in a way to let me know that like I'm at least doing something with like making my time being used for something. So thank you to the 40 subscribers, even though it says like 41 on my screen right now. Thank you to the 40 subscribers who have actually subscribed to the channel. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who has ever commented as well. I really appreciate it. And thank you to anyone who has liked the videos as well. Thank you very much. And I know one of the subscribers is not actually subscribed for watching. It's just me to make sure that like my videos are going up at the right time. I actually have a reason for that, and that's because like sometimes I'll say like, oh yeah, this should be uploaded on like July 1st, and then July 1st does like comes around and it doesn't get uploaded. I'm like, wait, and I gotta look and I gotta make sure that it's all good to go. So yeah, so that's why I know that one of the subscribers is not that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time for some more videos.